This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast revisiting television sci-fi, fantasy, and everything in between.
This week, Invasion America, episode 13.
If we were scared, nobody showed it. The truth was, we knew almost nothing about our target or what we were up against. But one thing was sure. We had become a team.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast that could be recording its shortest episode ever right now. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
If there's one thing we've proven over the last 100 and so episodes, we can talk for a while over nothing.
I mean, that is, I think, probably the bigger fact that might happen. But I was thinking about it, we've done a couple half-hour shows before, standalone ones even, like America 2100 or The Final Quark. Mm-hmm. But I think even those had a longer runtime than the episodes of this show. Like, they were running under 20 minutes.
These are really, really short. And this last episode, it went by in like 2 minutes.
You just blink and it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into it, Jordan, let's talk about some other stuff here. We've skipped a bunch of episodes of this show. I don't know if you looked into the episodes. I hope you haven't.
No, I haven't. I thought this week maybe I would watch them all and then be really prepared. And I thought, nah, what's the point? I'll go in blind and watch the last one.
Well, that's great, because I'm going to give you the titles of the episodes we didn't watch.
Okay.
And I'm going to see if you can guess what happened in those episodes.
Okay.
Capture.
I think probably David, for about 2 minutes in an episode, is captured by one of the many plans of the Dragit, but he gets out unscathed, and it has no bearing on anything else. What about you?
Well, I know the answer to these questions.
What was it really?
You're pretty much on the nose. David is caught by those twins.
Oh, he's caught by the twins. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. The Trip.
This is a standalone episode, so it's weird for the show.
It's like a bottle.
Yeah. For a show that's so serialized, it was an odd choice. But David goes back to the desert, and him and Doc take a road trip. That's it.
I'm sorry, that's not correct. Yeah, David has a hallucination via hypnosis.
Oh, so it's a hallucinogenic trip.
It is, although without drugs apparently.
It was an episode where he took peyote.
I am sorry we didn't watch it, but I'm sure it sucked.
What was that show we watched where they had like a almost 10-minute psychedelic thing? Oh, was that
Otherworld?
Otherworld, yeah.
Next up, Allies.
Maybe this is the episode where he meets what do they call it? Oshadi?
Oshadi? I'm afraid not. Finally, I don't know how this takes so long, he finally teams up with Stark.
Oh, that's right. Well, we're going to see that this episode. Oh, so what we learned is when we actually finished watching the episodes, they had laser guns at each other. So clearly they were able to work out their differences.
I mean, I assume maybe he was just caught by those twins in between. I don't know. I can't believe it took that long for them to ally. Next up, Charade.
This is another weird bottle episode where they just play charades all night.
Some team building exercise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to learn a little bit about each other.
Not quite. They go to Camp David to meet the president.
And did you see, by the way, I'm going to cut you off real quick, there were some semi-famous people who did voices in this show, and the president's played by Robert Urich.
I know. It's pretty crazy, actually.
I know.
Next up, you know what, Jordan, I'm going to take that back. I don't even know who that is. I was just trying to get us off the topic.
You don't know who Robert Urich is?
I do not.
He's an actor.
I was really just going to brush over it and move on, but I realized that's a lie. I don't know who that is.
One other thing. Ronnie Cox played Doc.
Oh, I did see that, actually, and I do know who that is.
Yeah, anyway.
Next episode, Rendezvous.
This is actually what I would call the sexiest of the episodes. David loses his virginity in this episode.
In actual fact, David's friend Jim joins the team.
Same episode.
Okay, so you're saying that's what happened.
That's what happened.
And then the penultimate episode of Invasion America, Countdown.
It's actually not what you think it is. Countdown is a man that has come over from Eastern Europe, and he just helps them stop one of the many plans of the Dragit.
He's a vampire? Is that what you're saying? He's a count?
Well, he's just Dracula? A count. Not all counts have to be a vampire.
At some point, he gets like shot by one of the Harushans, and they yell, "Count down!"
Nice. See, look, we could write one of these things.
True. In fact, I believe that episode apparently was about truly just a countdown to that shuttle we see in this episode launching.
Oh man, what a boring episode that must have been.
All right, let's move on past that. We've got one fun little segment for you, listener, before we wrap this up. We are going to recast Invasion America as a big animated feature film. You know what I didn't think of? We should have picked the studio who was going to make it, but we didn't.
We can still do that.
Who do you think's making this?
Nelvana.
This is Nelvana's big foray. They're going to go up against the big dogs.
Yeah,
Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks. Nelvana's coming to the table.
Or alternately, Hanna-Barbera.
Oh, that's pretty good too.
Yeah.
Both of them coming back from the dead for this.
Yeah.
I assume they're dead anyway.
Well, I don't think they're major players as they once were.
All right. Let's cast this up. So these are all voice actors this time around.
Luke, let me stop you here. My list is possibly, and I'll have to check the paperwork on this, the greatest list and compilation of voice actors in the history of cinema. That's how good mine is.
Well, this may be a problem against mine because I actually just tried to figure out who's done voice acting in the last kind of couple of years, and I just picked from that.
Well, and here's one rule I think we should make. If one of us hasn't picked a name for the other one, that person, whoever we choose, there's no debate. It has to be that other person. You know what I mean?
Okay, deal.
Okay.
So first up, David Carter.
Okay. This is the only one I'm not that excited about because I did a lot of searching around. I was like Googling like hottest teen stars of the time, and they all just look like douchebags. I don't know who any of these people are. But I did pick one actor who's a little bit older than David Carter is, but I think that's how usually those things go. And he's that Irish actor, a young guy named Barry, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Keoghan?
Barry, I want to say Keegan, but
Keegan? You know who he
I'm
is,
not
though, right?
sure. I know who you're talking about, yeah. What's he been in recently?
I don't know. He was in that he was in that Killing of the Sacred Deer.
Okay, great. Just for the listener, just to situate them.
I just couldn't remember recently. That's one that pops into my head.
Great. I'm like, who's done a good animated kid recently who can bring that heat from that other animated film? I went with How to Train Your Dragons, Jay Baruchel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right.
He plays a teenager in that, and that's a hot franchise.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is the one I'm the least confident in, so whatever you think, I'm happy to go with.
Let's give fellow Canadian Jay Baruchel another role.
Done. He's starring in this masterpiece.
And then I went next with the villain, the Dragit.
Mm-hmm.
And my pick was, I was like, who's a good villain voice who's done some voices recently? And I was looking at recent animated films, so I came across Abominable and realized that, old Eddie Izzard would be a great Dragit.
That's a pretty good pick, but I think I have you beat. And
Okay.
I've gone in now a very different direction because my thought was you're finally going to see the Dragit. You don't even know what he looks like, what he sounds like, and what comes out of his mouth is the voice of Gilbert Gottfried.
As soon as you started talking, I knew this is where it was going to end up.
It's different, I know, but...
You know what's funny? I actually don't think Eddie Izzard and Gilbert Gottfried, those are those are in the same casting room, I think.
You're probably right. What do you think?
I'm happy to go with Gilbert Gottfried. He's a little He's a little more of a comic villain now.
Yeah. No, he's not. He's still really serious.
All right. Next up on my list, Major Stark. One of our few humans.
Well, you give me yours.
You want to hear mine first? Mm-hmm. This isn't the most inspired one. I just kind of fell back on what was the clearest and most logical choice. Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, you're going to see the direction I keep taking this. My pick of Harvey Fierstein.
Well, we can't have them all comedy voices.
Guess what?
All right, Jordan. I'll let you choose between these two.
Let's go Samuel L. Jackson. We need some star power. No offense to Harvey. It's really just for my amusement.
He could have been your Dragit too.
He could have been Dragit too. A lot of these could have been.
All right, next up, David's mentor, Rafe / Sheriff, I guess.
Also, similar to your pick for the Dragit, is I have someone who's been in a show we've seen before, and my pick is Tim Curry.
Oh, that's a very good choice. I was digging around through some people, and I saw there was an animated film in the last couple of years for a Batman Hush. Mm-hmm. And one of the names on that list who struck me as an interesting Rafe was Jerry O'Connell. But you know what? I think Tim Curry's the way to go.
All right, let's go Tim Curry.
I can't get enough Tim Curry. I was just seeing him in the news this week, and I'm like, God bless Tim Curry.
Yeah. He's doing some, it's because he's doing something, right?
He was doing some sort of fundraiser for this
right.
election at the time that we record this should have passed by this point.
Right.
Next up, David's mother, Rita Carter.
I picked Annie Potts.
Annie Potts, eh? Is she still alive?
Yeah, Annie Potts is still alive. Yes.
I don't know.
She's like 50.
Is she only 50?
I think so.
I imagine her being 75.
Yeah, I don't think so. But anyways, again, just I thought an interesting voice.
I decided we'd steal some star power from the animated feature film The Lion King, the most recent one.
Oh, who is that? Not the one where Cass from Star Trek Voyager was in it.
I did not realize that was true.
Yeah, she was the voice of the female lion.
Well, I also went with the voice of the female lion, but it is Beyonce Carter Knowles.
I think we probably go with that because of, again, we need some star power for this movie.
Plus, she gets us a theme song. She'll do a cool Invasion America
That's
song.
right. She's contractually obligated to sing.
And now, off of the mother, let's go to the father, Kale Osha.
Kale. Who did I have? I have Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci, eh?
Something different.
You just wanted a comedy version of this.
I want every single person. We've talked about this before off the air, but like in terms of like having a movie, I'd love to see a movie where it's just character actors, and this is the equivalent for me on this animated. It's just people with interesting voices. That's all it is. It's just like, that's different. Like every voice is distracting.
I thought, why mess with gold, Jordan? Let's bring back Lorenzo Lawnless.
Really?
He's the voice of the dad in the show.
I'm good to go with that if you want. It's something for the real hardcore fans.
And I mean, what's he up to? He's got to be available.
I think he's available, yeah. He's probably doing one of those things where you can pay him to call you on your birthday.
A cameo?
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything terrible recently, right? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And do you have any more? That was all of my cast I was casting.
Oh, I have a few more.
Who else are we doing?
Okay, so that means we're sticking in these people that I chose. Angie Romar, the partner to Stark, will be played now by Jennifer Tilly.
Oh my god. Not bad, actually.
I have two generals, because I cast both generals that we've seen in this.
Oh my god, how many people did you cast in this?
I cast everybody. So we've got the original General Conrad, who was played by Leonard Nimoy, will now be played by, are you ready? Mm-hmm. William Shatner.
Well.
And in a smaller part, General Gordon, who replaces him, will be played by Bobcat Goldthwait.
Oh my god.
And there's two more roles here. There's a couple more roles.
Jeez.
I have Doc is making a quick cameo. He's played by Sam Elliott.
All right.
Major Lomac is played by Jeff Goldblum.
Who is that?
I don't remember. Doesn't matter. And finally, the character of Simon, who I believe is David Carter's best friend, possibly lover, will be played by Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen. I thought his name was Jim.
Maybe it's Jim, but he's played by Seth Rogen.
Okay. Listener, I am not recapping all these names for you later.
And do we have to pick a director for this?
Yes, that is the final piece of it. Who is directing this animated film?
I went with someone who's never directed an animated film, but I think is the person for this, which is Justin Lin.
You think sort of action choreographer director Justin Lin?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, that is the correct Justin Lin, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Fast and Furious guy.
No. Is that Justin Lin then? Isn't he the Saw director?
I thought he just did Fast and Furious. I'll be honest, I didn't really look into it that deep.
Trying to remember, because there are two directors who I get confused, which is probably not great on me. But one directed Saw, and one of them came up as the director of Justin Bieber doc.
Oh, I don't know. You're more of a Bieb head than me.
Nope, I'm wrong on both counts. Apparently, I'm bad at directors. No, you're right. He is. He did Tokyo Drift, but he had done a movie called Better Luck Tomorrow, which I have seen is actually quite good. It's a crime drama. That was his kind of indie start.
Right.
I knew he came from some sort of weird indie background, but yes, he did all the fasts and Star Trek Beyond.
There you go.
Interesting choice. I went with an animation director.
Yeah, I mean, it probably makes more sense.
I went with Brad Bird of Iron Giant,
Right.
Ratatouille, and The Incredibles fame.
Right. Well, hey, if we can get him.
He's available. After Tomorrowland, he's available.
He's available. So let's do that. And you said you really wanted to recap these 45 roles, right?
No, listener, I'm afraid you're going to have to go back and listen to this one yourself.
They don't have to. They're going to, when this movie comes out, they'll be first in line.
There you go. I'm sure everyone's dying for this movie. The movie that the people have been screaming for.
Yeah, screaming for Invasion America. Well, and on that note, shall we finish our time with this show?
Sure. I mean, you got to admit, though, it'd be easy to make in quarantine. Everyone can just do it from home.
That's true.
All right, let's get to it. Here is the IMDb summary for episode 13, Dark Side. David Carter and his friends head to the Tyrushan base on the dark side of Earth's moon to put a stop to the meteor attacks.
Yeah.
So, Jordan, this episode picks up with the Dragit. He, have we seen him on screen before? I felt like we had.
I don't think we have.
Because when I saw him, I was like, how is he so old and jowly? How have I not noticed this before?
And do you notice he has really tiny, sharp teeth?
Yeah, I thought for sure I had seen him before, but I had never seen someone looking like this before.
You know what he looks a little bit like? Remember in the new Star Wars movies? What's that guy's name? Snape? Whatever. He was the bad guy for a bit. In the he looks like oddly shaped, his head.
Yeah, and I thought he almost looked a little bit like the original Emperor in the Star Wars movies too. Like he kind of has a real saggy face.
Yeah. Anyways, he's not like winning any beauty contests.
Certainly not. His invasion fleet is around Jupiter, and it's 2 hours away from Earth at tachyon speeds, as we know.
But let me mention something real quick. The episode we left, which was episode 6? Am I right?
Yes.
This is the same attack. It's meteors again.
Well, this is what I'm going to tell you is what we hear from him is they're at the end of, or phase 2 is almost complete. And as we know, phase 2 was the preparation of his plan B, which they said in the last episode we watched, which is 6 episodes or so before this, would take 6 months to complete. So they are 6 months in the future. They are just starting phase 3, and phase 3 is to smash Washington, D.C. with a meteorite flung from the moon. So in the episodes between where we stopped watching, I believe that was episode 6, and episode 13, they have been flinging asteroids at Earth for 6 straight episodes.
Yeah. Do you think they've been flinging, or do you think they just stopped and now they went back to, I don't know, paperwork?
Well, when we left, we weren't sure if they had destroyed that moon base, but apparently they had not. There was a scene where someone attacked it, they were killed. We thought maybe they destroyed it, apparently not. But what we did know about the moon base at that point is that they had been just throwing meteorites to focus in their targeting system so they could hit actual infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So you may be right. Maybe in 6 episodes, they have done nothing. 6 months has passed. No more. They've got their targeting system working, and they're just waiting for phase 2 to be complete before they throw an asteroid at DC.
I have a couple points. The first being, I know this is an American show, and it's an American-centric show, so thus the major place to hit would be Washington, D.C. But if they have such specific targeting abilities, and they've been practicing said targeting abilities for months and months, and if they think hitting a capital is the most important thing, why not hit all the capitals? Why not cause immense chaos across the planet? And then my second point, and you can answer these in whatever order you like, we do see more shots of this base on the moon, and at one point we see the president, and he's like, my God, look at what it looks like. And I was like, it doesn't look that impressive. It looks like one little bubble with like a couple little like roads attached to it. I was like, that's not that impressive. He acted as if like there was a whole gigantic metropolis up there.
He thought he'd seen the, what were they called? The Inhumans
exactly.
castle on the moon.
Exactly. Anyways, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is just part of the show. The Dragit is myopically focused on America for some reason, which, when you think about it as a global invasion, just gets funnier and funnier. Like, just how much of this is like focused on just like one small part of the world.
I'm assuming, as they've been practicing, throwing meteors towards Earth, they've only been hitting the United States, correct?
Correct.
It's so bizarre.
And even now in this final episode, what we've come to learn is obviously in some small way Earth, or in fact just America, is mounting a counterattack. They don't seem to have engaged with any other country. Like, America hasn't like told anyone or asked for any help still.
But I should point out, this might all be a very stupid comment for me to make, because the show is called Invasion America, not Invasion World.
You know what? Maybe the Dragit just intended to invade America, and so the rest of the world would be fine. We just have there'd just be the Dragit would just run the U.S. and everyone else would just go about their business.
I mean, I'm sure everyone could just survive.
Anyway, that's what's kind of been happening, I guess, over this episode. 6 months has passed. We're entering phase 3, smash Washington with a meteorite, and then start the invasion.
Can you believe there was 6 episodes of just entire stalling and time wasting?
Can you believe each episode was a month of time?
That's true. Wow.
David, meanwhile, apparently has been putting together a team. He's gotten his hands on some sort of futuristic NASA shuttle called the Intrepid and has headed toward the moon. And who's on his team of people who he's gathered to fight this moon base?
All right, you got David. He's leading the team.
Yeah.
It looks like, as we were talking about after they played charades, he's now friends with both Stark and Romar. Mm-hmm. And then, which was no big surprise to us, Doc is back. He's decided he is a hero, so he's there.
What happened to Blue?
I think he's dead.
Okay.
He died from his injuries. And then I think the last person to the team is his friend, who I thought was named Simon, but maybe his name's Jimmy or something.
I'm not sure either. I have him written down as David's dumb friend Jim.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing about him. He's not really part of the team. He's a token at best.
It is so strange to see him here. He is so dumb that at some point they phone the president to talk about them about to attack, go down to the moon base, and they tell the president, "Oh, but we're leaving this kid Jim here to talk to you on the space station." And the president literally rolls his eyes.
Clearly there's been an interaction before that we've missed.
I think it was just Jim's opened his mouth and the president was like, "Oh my God, how's this kid so dumb?"
But my point was, all of them get cool spacesuits and get to go do stuff. He just hangs out on the ship,
they leave
solitaire.
him behind immediately. I'm like, why did you bring?
It's just it's a weird thing where I don't know. It's his friend, so he's there, but he's not doing anything.
What I liked is as they pull up to the moon with this ship, which both Stark and David are the pilots of, which I'm just like, neither of you are qualified to pilot this ship.
No, I think David's made it very clear in previous episodes that by playing video games, he is very qualified.
Oh, so you're thinking Major Stark's also a big gamer.
Yes, he is.
They probably played Call of Duty on Earth before, during that countdown episode.
I don't know, maybe he let him... Oh, I was going to say maybe he let him try on his glove, but as we know, if he had tried on David's glove, it would have crushed his hand.
And as they get to the moon... this is a small thing, Jordan, but I was obsessed with this idea. Is they're getting to the moon, and Stark picks up the radio and calls Mission Control and requests a parking orbit. And I was just like, why do you have to ask for permission to park at the moon? And then Mission Control's like, yeah, go for it. And Stark turns around and goes, and we're parked. I was just like, what? How do you think this is working?
I wonder if it was some sort of detail someone read about landing on the moon or something, some sort of procedure that they go through. They're like, we got to get that in the show. I'm
just like, listen, Mission Control let you take off from Earth to go to the moon. I think they're expecting you to park in orbit. Anyway, they're going to go down, infiltrate this Tyrushan moon base. The plan is to lay some explosive ribbon.
Yeah.
Which I was excited to see what explosive ribbon was, and I was a little disappointed it was just a cocking gun.
That's all it is.
Placing basically cock down on the floor that I guess would explode later.
But I have to say, and I know we haven't got there, but the scene later with them cocking the explosive is probably my favorite part of this episode.
Well, that's good. And once they're done that, they say, we'll set a 15-minute timer and get out.
Yeah. Well, do you think that's enough time?
It seemed short to me, but I guess why hold it to chance?
It takes longer to get the self-destruct sequence going than that.
It was fun to see. My favorite part of this episode was to see the president preparing from the White House. He's calling them on the phone. He's having to talk to Jim, who he's not happy about. And there's a great scene because we just keep cutting back to the president, kind of watching from Earth. But there's this great scene where he's like, he wants eyes on the moon so he can see what's happening. And some NASA official's just like, we've rerouted a Mars probe that we just launched to look down at the moon so you can see. And when the image comes up, the president gets very pissy about the image quality.
Yeah, that's right. Well, because the guy's like, hold on, I can make it look better. We can upgrade the pixels or something like that.
Yeah, no, literally that guy who's like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hold on, let me res it up and adjust the contrast.
What's that old thing you always see in the movies? You have to zoom in, right?
Yeah, it's like a CSI thing. It's just like let's just zoom in on it and see what we see.
Yeah.
Very classic scene.
And that's when he gets all. That's when he gets all. He's like, "Oh my God, look at the size of it!" And I'm like, "It's not impressive at all."
I mean, it's a side point. The president's barely involved, but I was just obsessed with it. We kept cutting back to him complaining about image quality.
That would be good. That's what they should have done. Just he's constantly complaining.
But our team, they head down to the moon via little tiny ships they called luges.
Is that what they called them?
Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting detail that you would call it a luge. Great Winter Olympic sport.
Yeah, that's my favorite. You got to point your toes.
We get to kind of see how the moon base launches meteorites, which I thought odd that we hadn't seen this before. But yeah, I was under the impression they were grabbing them from space and flinging them, like they were already in space and they were flinging them toward Earth. But what's actually happening is they have like little pneumatic tubes that they like put a rock into, and they just like, I guess using magnets, like propel it off the moon toward Earth.
Yeah, so it's like that's the thing. Those aren't meteors at all. Then
no,
they're just rocks off the moon. Well, moon rocks, I suppose.
They're throwing moon rocks at it, and I mean, I'm not going to get into the technical details of this. I'm not entirely clear how, from the dark side behind the moon, you're hucking them at Earth, unless you're waiting until you like circle. Like, are you waiting until you've circled around?
I thought the same thing, because what it basically looks like is like a barrel on a gun, or like a pea shooter sort of thing. It's a long, like as you said, sort of pneumatic tube that just shoots it out straight. But if they're on the other side of the moon, it should be more like a slingshot, or like a, what do you call it, a trebuduct, sort of like flinging it over towards Earth. But that's not what it is. I was like, guys, I can see why your plans don't work.
I mean, I guess maybe that's it, because like, you know, the dark side of the moon does face Earth, you know, on rotation, but then you also have to make sure you're facing Earth when America's there, because you're only attacking America. It did seem like you really had a very small window when you could smash Earth.
I think the idea of pulling meteors out of space and flinging them is a better plan, but I'm no Dragit.
You're no Dragit.
I'm no Gilbert Gottfried the Dragit.
Anyway, we get to see them land their ships. They approach this base. They have to hide from a Tyrusian guard patrol that's patrolling the moon.
Which is also the least exciting scene ever. They're like, oh, there's a patrol. They hide, and the patrol's like, yep, no one's there, and then they move on. I was like, there's no point to the scene at all. You
didn't like the tension where they realize they've left moon tracks in the dust, and David uses the Exetar to sweep the moon?
I know, it's like, that's what the glove can do? It's like you could have just done that with your hand.
It just sweeps up the tracks.
It's so stupid. But we're coming to the point now where we see their force field type thing.
Well, this part was actually kind of interesting. Is like, to enter the moon base, you have to enter through a liquid metal door, which is, it's basically like a semi-permeable metal, which is very funny because as they get to it, Doc's just like, yeah, you just walk through it, but you just like, how it works is you can't go too fast. And we see what's his name, Major Stark. He just like, he walks a little too fast and bounces off the door.
But is that a good security thing? You just can't move too fast through it? Like,
but that's what was weird. They implied it was security based, and it's not. Like, it's not security based. I thought it was more of interesting from a science fiction idea of just like, you can keep your atmosphere in, and like you don't have to open a door, you don't have to close it, you don't have to have an airlock. It's just like, if you're moving at a slow enough pace, you can permeate this like metal door, which is an interesting idea, but it has no security feature at all.
Right.
Like, it would just deflect an asteroid or something.
What do you think would happen if you stopped halfway through?
I don't know. I guess it'd be fine. You're not moving.
I would like to think you get sliced in half.
Classic transporter accent.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that was like maybe the high point for me of the episode. I'm like, oh, liquid metal door. Tell me more. But once they're inside this base, like it's like a baffling, just because the show moves so quickly, it's just baffling. Like, they get inside the base, Major Stark looks up and sees a giant sign over a doorway that's written in alien language. No idea what it says. They don't even subtitle it. And Stark looks up and says, outstanding. And I'm like, do you know how to read that?
Maybe he learned in their episodes.
I guess so. But what we're, I guess, to come to learn is like, they happen to enter the door that's next to the place they need to go, because they walk through that place, and Doc points at, they look around this central control room, and Doc points out these tubes leading down into the center of the room. And I had to rewind this 3 times. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this point, but Doc sort of tells him, he's like, those tubes right there, they go down to the laundry mechanism.
Is that what he said?
No, he has a thick accent, some southern, like, weird American accent. And what he's saying is the launching mechanism.
Oh.
I kept hearing him say the laundry mechanism, and I kept trying to figure out, I'm like, oh, so they're going to go find clothes to change into. But I'm like, it's so weird they have such a laundry mechanism. But like, after I repeated it a few times, I'm like, oh, he has a drawl. He's saying, launching mechanism.
I think that was good. I think at this point I was barely paying attention because what's weird is, you're right, there's a so almost frenetic pace to it, but at the same time there's no real major obstacles for the characters. It's just putting pieces in place. So they there's a wall. Is it hard to get through? No, they just walk through it. They walk in. The room they need to be, well, it's right there. Next character moves on. It's just move, get through it. But there's no stakes at all through any
Well,
of
that's
this.
basically what happens. They start laying this explosive ribbon down.
Yeah.
And there's a brief moment where someone walks past David.
This is my favorite part.
Talking to him in Tyroosian. This is the closest to stakes. Is David going to get caught by this man who is speaking to him in Tyroosian?
And
a woman.
It was a woman. How does he get through it? So she comes up to him and she's like, blah, 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 blah. Like basically, we've walked on you. You're clearly laying explosives. You're not one of us. And what does he do to fool her?
Yeah, she talks to him for a good minute, asking him questions, and he just looks up to her and says, Yosh?
And she's like, checks out, and she leaves. And that's it. That was maybe my favorite thing of this entire show.
I really liked it too, because the version we're watching is subtitled in Portuguese or something. So I don't even know what she was saying in the alien language.
No, either do I.
So it's even funnier just knowing she just talked to him in alien language, and he just looked up and said, Yosh?
So, and for anyone who doesn't remember, that just means awesome in their language. So no matter what she said, I'm assuming she's like, who are you? What are you doing here? You're not allowed to be in this area, and what could you possibly be doing? And who are you? And blah. And then he goes, awesome. And she goes, yep.
I assume she came by and she's like, oh, thank God they sent someone. The grout on this floor was getting real broken down. We needed someone to lay some new grout down. I'm glad you're here.
Or she's like, how do you feel about sandwiches? And he went, awesome. And she's like, yeah, me too.
I'm taking lunch orders. The options are burgers, or we could get some pizza up here. What do you think? Yosh? Well, I'll put you down for either, I guess. Anyway, let's get back to this weird show. The Dragit's arriving now at the moon with his fleet, and he's ordering that a meteor be shot at DC, and this is where things go awry, because they've set their timer to go off in 15 minutes. But it's only going to take 9 minutes to throw a meteor at DC.
The tension, I'm telling you.
So they've got to have a quick change of plans on the fly. And what do they come up with, Jordan?
I think it's Doc has decided that these sort of propellant pneumatic tubes, instead of disabling them, he's reversed them.
That's true. I was thinking more of their plan as now to stop them is to rush them with guns.
Oh, well, that's true.
Because we just get a scene where they run up. They're just like, uh-oh, we don't have enough time. What are we going to do? They run in to where the central control room is and just start firing randomly. Don't hit anyone. Major Stark is immediately shot in the chest, and they give up.
That's right. Sorry, I did jump ahead a little bit. Yeah, Stark's shot, and David gives up, but then he takes his power glove and waves it over him, and it also maybe heals him?
Yeah, the X-Store apparently can also heal wounds. It can do anything. Sweep, heal,
chop
tumbleweeds.
Wood. Oh yeah, I threw some tumbleweeds. That was a good one. But anyways, but then so they're captured. They get put in front of the Dragit, who's on hologram.
Yeah, he's like, I finally caught you, my nephew. Yay! I'm surprised this wasn't your favorite part of the episode, though, Jordan, because while this is all going on, there has been one Tyroosian dude just chilling out, sniffing at the air.
Oh, that's right. That's right. What was he looking for? He smelled humans? Was that what it was?
I don't know. There was just one guy with a really great sense of smell. As soon as they start laying the explosive, he's just sniffing the air, smell something, smell something. And he follows his nose like Toucan Sam directly to the detonator device. Mm-hmm. And so he basically takes the detonator off the explosives, so we know it's not going to blow up the station anymore. Brings it up to where the captives are caught, and they're like, you, Stark, disable your detonator. And this is where Stark turns to Romer and says, hey, Romer, remember D.I. Swanson from Fort Bragg? What did he always say when he was slamming those tequila shots? And she looks at him and says,
Fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole, baby.
Yeah.
And I guess he changes the detonator to be 10 seconds long now. That detonator had a lot of explosive all on its own. I was surprised. Mm-hmm. He just throws it into a crowd of Tyroosians, somehow kills or knocks most of them down. His team's fine, though. They're 2 feet from that explosion. Totally fine. As you said, Doc reverses the polarity on the launchers.
Does that make sense, by the way? Does that work?
No, it doesn't make any sense. It would only make sense if they were pulling meteorites toward yes. Earth, but they're actually just shooting them out like a blow dart or something. So I don't even when we see it in action, the meteor flies out of the base, to the end of the tube and then stops at the end of the tube and then just comes back.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But anyways, it doesn't matter because it works.
Doesn't matter. They flee out of this Tyrusian base as the meteor is flying back. They manage to escape, and the whole base explodes. Huge explosion. They've gotten away with it. They've saved Earth from a meteor attack on Washington, D.C. And as they're getting back to their own ship, the Dragit's invasion fleet is still in orbit around the moon, and suddenly all these what do we call them? Oh yes, the Oshadi, the rebel ships start popping out of nowhere. I guess they could cloak or come in at warp or whatever they call it. Was it tachyon speed? And of course, they start attacking and destroying his fleet. So I guess the invasion is now also defeated because these other guys showed up at random. Like, what were they going to do if they blew up the meteorite? But I don't know. There's so many questions around how this is even going to stop the Dragit. But these guys show up at random, and you notice one of the ships happens to have a very special name written across it.
Yeah, what was the name on it?
Rita's Dream.
Yeah, Rita's Dream. And so, I
Just
wonder
like boat.
I wonder who's on it. I can't figure it out.
Yes, but David and team get back to their NASA ship. They're celebrating. They can't believe it. David's giving a voiceover saying, "It was over. We stopped them again." And I was just like, "What again?"
Well, I think he's talking about all the other plans.
That we missed, you're right.
Yeah.
And of course, at this point, that a phone call comes in on that old orb. The old orb phone rings.
Yeah, and you know what I liked about the orb phone? I always assumed it was stationary. But the orbs don't even have to be hooked up to anything, because old Jimmy, whatever his name is, he just picks the orb up and brings it over to David.
Yeah, it's cellular.
Yeah, it's cellular. Yeah, that's right.
And on the orb is, unsurprisingly, David's dad, Kale. He's looking a little worse for the wear. He's missing an eye now, but he's so proud of his son for doing all this work on Earth to stop the invasion.
And what David doesn't say is, "Hey man, I could have really used your help, all this time. What have you been doing?"
And it's a good question, because his dad just seemed to show up apropos to nothing.
But we end here weirdly, and what does it say on the screen?
Yeah, the super that rolls up here as we see David reunited with his dad blew my mind. Because a title is superimposed over the image, and it says, "End of Book 1."
Yeah, and you know what? It reminded me a lot of a few shows we've seen where it feels like the whole season was a setup to where the show should have started.
I mean, I guess what's entailing is the Dragit, I guess, isn't dead in the attack. He's got more invasions planned, which is not a surprise.
We know, he loves invasions.
And we're going to get to see Dave and his dad team up. But I was most baffled by the idea that it's not end of Saga 1 or even end of Chapter 1. It's end of Book 1. So these are the books of Invasion America we're watching?
I think it's to give it some weight. I think that's what they were hoping for. This is a tome.
Right. Even Tome 1 would have been better. Book 1 just seems so weird.
I have a more important question. Do you think in what are the species called? The aliens?
Tyrusians?
The Tyrusians. Do you think losing an eyeball is perhaps the most embarrassing, culturally significant thing to have lost because you can't do that eyeball trick anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like we were going to hear something about he lost the eye in a torture session because losing your eye, you can't do that weird expanding pupil trick. But he has another eye, so it's not like it's completely gone. But
maybe you need two. You need
maybe
two
you
to
need
wait
two.
for it.
You're right.
Yeah.
I also underlined that. I'm like, that's probably means something. If only we got to book 2 to find out.
But there won't be a book 2. That's it. This is all you get.
All right, Jordan. Do you have any final notes before we get into rating all of this?
I don't think so. I think we can go right into them.
I actually do want to bring up one thing. It's not vitally important to anything for sure, but this is a series. I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to make it a lot better, but it's a series crying out for a fan edit. Someone could chop this in to probably something more cohesive and quicker, and maybe even more entertaining, because so little happens. But it did feel like there's probably a 50-minute version of this that is okay.
I think you're right. I think there's probably enough there, and there's enough superfluous information and scenes that you could just cut out entirely, and this could be a probably pretty tight, what do you think, hour special, a 45-minute thing?
Yeah, an hour special. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you could cut it into 80 minutes and it's almost a feature.
15 minutes? Cut it into 15 minutes?
I was really... one thing I was surprised, and maybe I just didn't look hard enough for it, is this feels like the kind of thing, because there does seem to be enough people who enjoyed it when it was on. I'm just surprised nobody's done a fan edit of it. I actually think this would even cut better than a shorter Langoliers version. I think you could cut like something that people would find fun and exciting.
Even just editing down the incredibly long action sequences that, for all intents and purposes, it seems like the people making this show really think viewership hinges on. And if you just cut those down, it would speed things up. And again, it's so crazy to say that for 20-minute episodes because they're really fast. But when you put it all together, just very little happens. Like, you could have watched the first episode, maybe the first 2 episodes in this last episode, and pretty much got the whole show, what's happening.
Well, I was impressed because we skipped 6 episodes of a serialized show, and it felt like other than the fact he'd put the team together, was on that spaceship, it felt more like I missed an episode.
I agree.
Than 6. Like, the moon base was still in play, meteor attacks were still in play, the Dragit's invasion plan hadn't changed. The only difference was that he had finally managed to like get his team together and get to the moon, which I was like, what happened in those other 6 episodes?
We missed that whole episode where he's just sitting in the caravan with Doc convincing him to put on that spacesuit.
Doc, you got to put it on. I don't know if I want to.
He's like, only if Blue puts one on, and then David uses his extra glove and just kills Blue. We missed that scene.
He's just like, you're next, old man.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I'll put it on. I was like, wow, David's a badass.
All right, Jordan, let's rate this. What do you want to give the final episode of Invasion America: Dark Side?
Well, I'm going to give it a rating based on just it in itself, and maybe colored by the previous episodes. But this is not a good ending. It doesn't actually have an ending.
It's not an ending.
There's no stakes. There's no sense of tension. There was no character development. I don't think it was interesting at all. I'm giving it a 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
Sorry, Invasion America.
Yeah, it's, I mean, that's the thing. It wasn't an ending.
No, it's like we went all this way for nothing.
Like, it just felt like another episode, and there's still more to do. And obviously that's the case. There's more books to come. Yeah, I mean, I liked Liquid Wall.
That's one point.
I liked...
Yosh?
I didn't care for that much. I liked the one Tyrusian who had a smelling superpower.
He was very similar to my dad. My dad's, for some reason, walks in rooms smelling stuff all the time. Like, what are you smelling? Anyways.
For a second, I thought maybe it meant that all Tyrusians had this power, and then I realized, I'm like, well, no one else can smell it, so it's just this one dude.
Just this one guy. That's why they keep him around.
He's great for it.
Yeah.
Too bad he died. So I guess I'll go in with a 2 as well. I can't really think of more... Oh, I'll give it 2.5 because I liked it when that man had to say, I'll up-res it for you and turn on the contrast.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Anyway, so 2 and 2.5. What's our final score on this? Do we know? It's like 3 something maybe.
Yeah, well, let me punch it in. We'll find out the final series average for us on Invasion America. Let's punch it into the old Continue and Drag computer, Jordan. All right, Jordan. Our final score for Invasion America, 3.92.
Yeah, not good. To be fair, though, that's what it is. There's something maybe interesting here, and I think we've said it before. The show doesn't necessarily look bad, and there's some interesting concepts, but it never got past the very generalized, obvious tropes that they began with. It's just like, you knew what the story was going to be from the beginning. There was no surprises, no development, and nothing really interesting at all. And at the end, you're like, they didn't even finish the boring story they were telling. I think you hit it on the head. It's a show that doesn't even have enough there for you to like dislike or hate it. Yeah.
Like, it's hard to feel anything toward it, which is such a weird feeling. It's just like, I feel nothing toward this.
I'm trying to think of another one we've had that reaction. But you're just like, do you hate it? I'm like, no, it just kind of exists. It's just there. It's like a picture on the wall that you never really noticed is there before.
Yeah, it like barely exists. It just was, and that's why, and it was gone, and that's all you can say about it.
Yeah. Invasion America barely exists.
Safe to say, probably not recommending this to anyone, right?
No, but you make an interesting point, though. If there was some, I'm going to say talented / really sad person who was going to edit this, you might have something that would be worth checking out. I'll be honest, even then, it still doesn't get past the science fiction tropes that you've seen a million times. I think it just makes a more enjoyable experience, but it's never going to be great. Yeah,
if someone needs a real pandemic hobby for the next few weeks, I don't know, you could do worse than cutting this together and then putting it on the internet.
I suppose.
But that's it. That wraps it up for Invasion America, Jordan. On Instagram and Twitter, we'll have some clips from this final episode. Thankfully, I think this final episode actually has some of the more enjoyable clips because at least it's the most weird and action-packed in some ways. And then, of course, at Gmail. What's our Gmail? Why did I say it that way?
Continuumdrag@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's it. On our email, you can email us to say anything you like about Invasion America. I don't know. Why do I keep plugging the email? I have no idea.
Someone's going to write in and they're going to say, don't crap all over Invasion America. I'll have you know my father was an animator and he died putting out this cartoon. You know? And I'll be like, that was a bad way to go.
I would say there's probably an age range where this might have hit you at the right time where it's like has a nice memory for you.
Yeah.
I just, doesn't stand up anymore.
I agree, yeah.
But that's it. That wraps it up. Listener, thank you so much for joining us on our journey into Invasion America. And Jordan, I'll see you next week for something new.
Yeah, and one last time, Yosh. Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rex Seidler. Produced by Jordan Dullock and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Hughes.